All right, happy Monday or Monslay, as I like to say. Thank you for being here. Hope you're having an amazing start to the week. We are just going live on Instagram. Let's see who is around on Monday, Monslay. 11:28. People getting ready for lunch here in Singapore. Who went to F1 on the weekend? Not me. I did sleep well last night though. OMG, my body was like, girl, rest. So I did. Hope you're having a good one. We are talking about 7 hard pills to swallow when it comes to sustainable weight loss, because some of y'all need a reality check, and I'm here to give you that. You're welcome. It is a topic I can talk about because I myself have lost and kept off 15 kilograms. I've halved my body fat percentage, all whilst moving overseas, going through a divorce, and pretty much packing up my whole life into a suitcase, a 54-kilogram suitcase. Is that right? And 54 kilograms of luggage when I moved here. That was it. $500, 54 kilos, no job, no money, no, not really, not a whole lot of money, and no visa. And it can be done, but it is not as straightforward as people think. Because life is not straightforward, guys. Life has ups and downs, and unexpected events happen. You move countries, you get divorced, you try local foods. It's just not as easy or glamorous as you think. Now, the math is pretty easy. Caloric deficit, that's pretty simple, that's pretty straightforward. I've done a training on how to calculate calorie intake and macro intake before. Scroll through my feed if you're on Instagram, or scroll through the other platform. If you're on other platforms, you'll find that it is a podcast, or it will be a podcast. So that information is available. Working out your calories and your macros is not super hard, though creating behavioral change is, and building that into your lifestyle, sustaining that, is more challenging. So here's some hard pills to swallow. It's going to take more like 2 to 3 years before you see in the mirror what you think you should see in 8 to 12 weeks. Yeah, let that sink in for 2 seconds. I didn't think I looked fit until I had been training consistently. And when I say consistently, I mean 3 to 4 times a week, until I had been training for at least 2, if not closer to 3 years. And what's funny is when I look back and see videos from my training and photos from that time, I don't feel like I look fit at all. I mean, I have looked less fit, but I certainly look a lot leaner, stronger, fitter now. And so what a lot of people expect to see in 8 to 12 weeks from training and working on their diet and their nutrition usually takes more like 3 years of consistent training. That is a hard thing to tell people, because people come to you and they want to see change like that. They want to do a 12-week challenge and drop 10 kilos and lose 10 kilos before 2024. Not to say it's impossible. It is possible. That's about 700 grams a week, because we've only got 15 or so weeks left of the year. So it's not a lot of time. But are you going to keep that weight off when you create such drastic changes? Unlikely. The more sustainable your changes are, the slower you have to work at. Okay, so if you think about losing 10 kilos over 365 days, the changes don't have to be so drastic as if you're trying to lose that weight in 16 weeks, or if you're trying to lose that weight in 10 weeks. Of course, if it's 10 weeks, it's 1 kilogram a week. Girl, you're going to be hungry. That is a lot of change to create in a very short space of time. And the mismatch is people are not very good at changing because people hate change, because people don't like doing things differently. People like routine, they like predictability, they like their normal structure and ways of doing things, they like their current eating habits and patterns and drinking. Oh, well, let's talk about drinking patterns and drinking habits. And they don't like to change because that's just not fun. People like to drink when they want to, eat what they want when they want to, and have that freedom, so to speak. And that's all well and good, but some change, of course, has to occur if you want to lose the weight and if you want to keep it off. You have to sustain the change, and this is what people don't understand. Often people regain weight because they stopped doing what worked, and what worked was the change that you created. So if you go from drinking every day to only drinking twice a week, you have to keep drinking twice a week at that volume to keep those changes that you've made, if that makes sense. But people stop doing what works because people default, because it's easy to default and go back to what you know and what you've done and what is familiar and what just aligns with your self-perspective and self-perception. So yeah, hard pill to swallow number one is it's going to take you more like 2 to 3 years to see what you think you should see in 8 to 12 weeks. Two, I should mention, it takes time to build muscle. I mean, to see this much muscle definition on your arms, on your shoulders, on your glutes, on your legs, through your trunk, in your core, your abs, that takes time. It takes a lot of time to build muscle. And you have to be very consistent with the amount of protein that you eat on a day-to-day basis to get there. You can't really fast track the process of building muscle. What you can do to facilitate that, of course, is get good sleep, get good rest so your body can recover, get enough protein in your diet, which you've heard me talk about ad nauseum, is 1.5 grams per kilo of what you weigh per day. Obviously lifting heavy shit and working in all different rep ranges. So the 4 to 6 rep range, the 8 to 12 rep range, the 12 to 15 and 20 and above rep range, getting stronger across all rep ranges and working at that intensity when you're training. So making sure those last 5 reps on your first working set are tough. If you're not getting to that point, you are leaving money on the table, honey. You are definitely not getting as strong as you could and not as quickly as you could. So hard pill to swallow number one. It's going to take you more like 2 to 3 years of training at least 3 times a week to see what you think you should see in 8 to 12 weeks. So that's that. Hard pill to swallow number two, your cravings for sugar, your low energy, your lack of muscle definition, your lack of leanness is going to remain present until you get enough protein. You are not going to be able to put on the muscle you need to. You're not going to be able to recover the way that you need to. You're not going to have more stable energy levels and blood sugar levels until you get enough protein into your diet. And so a lot of people tell me they're not breakfast people. They're like, oh, I'm just not a breakfast person, but I get to 11 a.m. and I want to eat everything in plain sight. And then I snack on this high sugar thing and I snack on this high sugar this and that and everything else. Yeah, it's because you have asked your body to do a lot from 7 a.m. or even earlier until 11. It's not had enough protein to do that. Of course you have sugar cravings. Of course you're starving at 11 a.m. Of course you have sugar cravings at 3 p.m. You need protein. Protein is so satiating. It is more filling than the other macronutrients. It goes further down the digestive tract before getting broken up and sent to where it needs to go. So when you deprive your body of protein, it is harder for your body to regulate its sugar. And when you go so long at the start of the day without eating, of course, there comes a point where your brain and body are like, hello, excuse me, hi, I need some nutrients, please. That is positively impacted by getting protein at the start of the day. Now, you don't have to, have a 2-liter protein shake at 7 o'clock in the morning and 12 egg whites and egg yolks at the start of the day. That's not everyone's jam. I get that. But you should be aiming to get 20 grams of protein within 2 hours upon waking up. That's my go-to. So if you don't feel like you want to eat first thing in the morning, fine. But within 2 hours upon waking up, you should at least try and get 20 grams of protein down the hatch. Now, again, something in a liquid form may be easy to get down. If that feels better for you, then do that. If you like something more liquid, again, it could be yogurt with protein powder instead of, a protein shake. It doesn't have to be a 5 egg white omelet. That's cool. Though you will find your energy levels, your sugar cravings are improved, you have better sustained energy throughout the day, you can perform cognitively better, and you can recover better from training and go harder in training when you get enough protein. So you gotta work on that. It's not just about cutting out carbs. Most of you are gonna probably need more carbs before exercise in order to build the muscle that you want. So instead of having carbs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which you don't need, okay, now when I say carbs, I mean like pasta, I mean rice, I mean noodles, I mean potato, I mean couscous. That we want a time before training, or a banana, great before training. Carbs and caffeine before exercise, your bestest friend, okay? So there's that. You need protein, you need more protein, and that is going to address a lot of issues, concerns, qualms, conundrums that you're having when it comes to changing your body composition. I've seen people lose 3.5% body fat in a week from improving this, and 3 centimeters off their waist. Losing 3 cm off your waist and losing 3.5% body fat in a week from making this adjustment. So it goes without saying, this is something worth addressing. Quick sip. We've got to stay hydrated. Going on to my next point. There are people who might be a little bit offended by this. Maybe just a little bit. I have taken on clients who've been training with a different trainer for 2 or 3 years before coming to me. And given that they were training for 2 or 3 years before they met me, I'm pretty shocked by how unstrong they are. And I don't want to say weak. and weak and strong are, they're ambiguous terms. Let's just say that. We can define strong however we like. We can define weak however we like. One person's strong, maybe another person's weak. You get what I'm trying to say. Though the people who have come to me, having trained with a trainer for 2 to 3 years, I'm often very surprised by how poor their movement quality is, as in they're not squatting with full range, they're not chest pressing with full range, they're not lat pull downing with full range, they're not shoulder pressing with full range, they're not deadlifting with full range, and thus they're not very strong. So I'm very surprised by how unstrong they are. And I do wonder if people don't push women as hard as they could in the gym. I do wonder. I haven't been trained myself by male trainers in person, so I don't know. I don't want to open a can of worms on that discussion, because that is a whole other can of worms. We could really go there. But I feel like it's worth talking about and, suggesting maybe men just hear a female in the gym go, oh, that's tough, or that's heavy, and so the man just lowers the weight, maybe, or the female trainer does that too. I don't know. I don't want this to become a gender thing, but I do wonder if we treat females a little more precariously in the gym. I know when my clients are being pushed because they start to make faces, they start to swear, they start to splutter, they start to curse me, they start to protest, they start to threaten to walk out of the gym. That to me is a sign that you are trying, my friends. So third hard pill to swallow is you're probably not pushing yourself as hard as you could. And if you have a trainer, look, your trainer should be picking up on those things. Your trainer should be noticing when your breathing starts to change, when you stop talking because you're trying really hard, when you're starting to make faces, when your grip is starting to go. they are signs that indicate to me you're pushing yourself. And chances are when you feel like you're done and you can't do anymore, there are scientific studies that have actually looked at people's fatigue point and their perceived fatigue point. Usually you have 7 reps left in you when you think you're finished. So if that's 7 reps and you multiply that by however many sets and however many exercises throughout the course of a workout, that adds up tremendously. I mean, if you're doing 12 working sets, oh my God, stop with the maths. 12 times 7. Why do I not know the answer to 12 times 7? 77, 84. That's 84 extra reps you could be doing in a workout. 84. That is tremendous. You are leaving a lot on the table. Now, just because it gets hard doesn't mean that you are struggling. You should get to a point where you are struggling to keep your technique under control, where you're trying to, get the form right and move the weight at the same time and not make a face and not slur and not splutter. Most people aren't training to that intensity. Even the trainers I see train just train like absolute joke. It's just an absolute joke, okay? So third hard pill to swallow is your definition of being strong and training hard is, let's just say there's a lot of room for change, a lot of room for improvement. When you are lifting your body weight in most of your exercises, that's when you are entry level strong. Entry level. So that's 30 kilos each hand for a chest press. That's, for a lot of people, if you're 60 kg, that is going to be at least 60 kilo, at least body weight for a back squat. If not 1.5 times that, if not 2 times that. I'm going to get 2 times that this year. I'm very, very excited. But for a back squat, standard is 1.5 kilos per 1.5 times per body weight. So again, if you're 60 kilos, that's a 90 kilo back squat. I have a client who's almost there, almost. If we're looking at a bench press for female, that's your body weight as entry level strong, entry level definition of strong. If it's a deadlift, don't even talk to me because I don't like deadlifts at all. They're good for me. I do them because it's like taking medicine. Okay, I know it's good for me. I don't enjoy it. 2 times body weight. And so the 5 kilo dumbbells you're using are great. It's a good starting point, but it's a starting point and it's not going to move the needle when it comes to where you want to be. Lat pull down, you should be doing your weight, your body weight. That should be a goal. Single arm row, you should be looking to do half your body weight as entry level strong. So if you're not there yet, let's just say you got a lot of room to improve. The fourth hard pill to swallow. You don't really want results, you want reiterations. What do I mean by that? You want your definition of you to be reiterated to you. So if you think you'll always be 10 kilos overweight, you will look for ways to sabotage yourself and keep yourself 10 kilos overweight. A lot of people don't want results. They want reasons to stay the same, but they want to be seen as doing something because being seen to do nothing is socially not okay. So to play the victim card is not great. It's generally not okay and accepted by society. But at the same time, change is hard. So a lot of people find themselves caught in this catch-22 of wanting to be seen to do something, like tick the box of having exercise, tick the box of having gone to the gym, because it's a positive thing to do, but they don't really want to change. They don't really want results because that's actually a lot of hard work. Anyone can turn up to the gym and go on a machine and exercise. Not everyone turns up to the gym early to warm up, trains with intensity, and actually gets soreness from the exercise that they do and leaves feeling like they need a walking stick or a wheelchair because they feel so done. They feel so brutalized by their workout. Most people don't have it within them to actually train at that intensity. So a lot of people don't want results. They want to reiterate to themselves what they think about themselves, and thus they keep themselves in a catch-22 of setting an ambitious goal, never getting there or temporarily getting there, for example, losing 10 kilos, but then gaining 12 or 15. And then they do this every 2, 3, 5 years, before you know it, you've been trying to lose 10 kilos and keep it off for 10 years. That's not great. We don't want that for anyone. So hard pill to swallow is a lot of people don't actually want results, or they don't want to do the work required to get results. They want to turn up, tick the box of having done something, go home, feel all great, tick the box, did something positive, but not really move the needle. Moving the needle requires you to turn up early, to warm up early. It requires you to train to the point that you're making faces, and requires you to do a lot of work outside of the gym as well. It means you're going to have to work on your nutrition. It means you're going to have to be more mindful when you go grocery shopping. It means you're going to have to be more mindful when you order food in. It means you're going to have to spend time being mindful. So journaling, meditating, connecting with your breath, observing your thoughts, having coaching sessions, having health coaching sessions. So it's a lot of work outside of the gym to keep weight off. And that brings me to my next hard pill to swallow. Most of the change happens outside of the gym. I do not recognize myself from a mental and emotional standpoint if I look at photos of myself even as little as 5 years ago. Mentally and emotionally, I feel as though I've grown so much. It's disproportionate to that of the actual time frame, that it leaves me feeling like I'm looking at a stranger when I see old photos of me. And I feel like that's a good thing, because I'm here to grow. And the only way I can grow is if I let go of my attachment to who I am today, and let that be this version of me. This is today's version of me, and know that tomorrow's version can be even better, can be different, can be whoever I choose for that to be. You get to determine who that person is. But when it comes to weight loss, most of the work required to lose weight and keep it off actually happens outside of the gym. It happens in the 6 inches between your ears, with health coaching sessions. Again, having conversations with your coach, asking them how they need to think to lose weight. What thoughts does a person who's lost 10 kilos and keep it off have? What's their self-belief like? What's their self-esteem like? What is their confidence like? How do they handle challenges? What happens when they want to cancel training? Do they just cancel? Or do they overcome challenges and go and do the hard thing of going when you feel like not going? This is the stuff that no one talks about. Most of losing weight happens outside of the gym. When you go to the gym and you do an hour worth of training, you might burn 300 calories, maybe 400 at a stretch. That honestly is not a whole lot. It's easier to just not eat 400 calories. Honestly, it's just easy to not eat 300 to 400 calories than to turn up and burn it. Now, building muscle is super important. I'm not saying don't go to the gym. I'm just saying, proportionately speaking, most of the change happens between the 6 inches up here. It's not going to happen in the gym, because if you have self-sabotaging thoughts, you're going to stay stuck, and you're going to stay exactly where you are. You'll come back to where you are right now, or even in a worse position. It's only a matter of time. Unless you work on your thoughts and your feelings, don't expect anything to stick. This brings me to my next point. You're not as consistent as you think you are. Like, sorry, not sorry. But if we want to talk about consistency, some of you have a very interesting definition of consistency. Consistency is not going to the gym twice this week because you're in town, and then not going to the gym at all for the next 2 weeks because you're traveling. Consistency is not eating chicken and broccoli and rice today because you remember to meal prep, and then eating like shit because you have a networking event tomorrow, and then you have a Formula One after party the next day, and because it's a friend's birthday on Thursday and someone organized a morning tea on Friday morning. Consistency is doing a thing more than 50% of the time, 90% of the time. Okay, so if we look at 365 days, so it's doing something for at least 11 months of the year, more than half of that time, to give you a bit of a perspective. Most of you do things when it's convenient, so when you're in town, and then that often can go out the window when you're not in town. That's not being consistent. Consistency looks like going to the gym when you travel. Consistency looks like making healthier food choices when you're outside of Singapore, when you go to see friends, when you go to see family, when you go home over Chinese New Year, over Thanksgiving, over Christmas, over New Year's. It's making healthier choices most of the time, 90% of the time. It's not just, look, it's easy for me to do today, so I'm going to do it. Today it's easy for me to do. Tomorrow might be hard, but I'm still going to work on it tomorrow. And no matter what circumstances come up, I'm going to choose the option that is going to better serve me long term most of the time because I want the result of having made that decision. I'm very quick to tell people if I only trained when I felt like it, when all the stars magically aligned, I had good sleep, high energy levels, the best nutrition, I was hydrated, I felt like it, the equipment was available, etc., 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 I might train twice a week, maybe. Once, sure. Twice, maybe. I train consistently, and I am the definition of consistency when I say that. I really am. There are some things I'm not great at. Deadlifting is one of them. But consistency, I freaking annihilate. I am the most consistent person I think I know. Definitely one of them. I consistently train 5 to 6 times a week, every week of the year. When I go home for Christmas, I still go to the gym. Why? Because I want to keep what I've built. I don't want to lose this muscle. Muscle disappears so unfairly fast. Like I can't even tell you. So I, of course, want to keep this when I travel. But y'all think consistency is just doing this training twice a week when you're in Singapore. And then, look, I'm traveling for the next 1, 2, 3 weeks, so I'm going to do nothing but walk. Walking's great, but you ain't going to keep muscle mass by walking. You're not going to keep much, and you're definitely not building muscle when you're walking. So y'all need to check your definition of consistency. It's definitely not what I think of when I think of consistency. And having trained for 5 to 6 times a week for the last 7 or 8 years, I can tell you, you have no clue what consistency is. Out of all the meals I eat in a week, if you have 21 meals in a week, let's say it's on average 3 a day, 7 days a week, 90% of those meals, that would mean 19 meals, are on plan and on track. Consistency is not eating one salad or one chicken and veg meal on a Monday and then maybe again on Thursday. That ain't it, honey buns. I really think y'all have interesting definitions of consistency. So, hard pill to swallow. Your definition of consistency is very, very far from what consistency actually means. Hard pill to swallow. I think we're up to number 6, 5 or 6. You have more calories in you than you think. Yes, we underestimate what we eat by about 20%. When people eat out, when my clients eat out, my advice to them is overestimate by 20%. So whatever they log into Cronometer, now if you've heard me talk about food logging and tracking before, you'll know I hate MyFitnessPal because it's easy to misenter data. It's easy to select the wrong foods and foods which are inaccurate when it comes to their macros and thus calories. My clients use Cronometer, CRON for Nigeria, OM for Madagascar, ETER. It's an orange badge with an apple and a target on it. If you're looking, I believe it's on iOS. Well, I know for sure it's on iOS. Is it on Android? Not sure. They do have a desktop version if you're interested. Okay, so my clients use Cronometer, and my advice to them when they're eating out is however much they think they're eating, add 20% to that number. That will be more accurate and representative of what they actually consume versus what they think they're eating. Also, we underestimate oils and dressings, sauces, and creams. Of course, that is flavorsome. That's what restaurants put in our food to make it so delicious. So the cheeses, the creams, the oils, all the fatty foods, all the rich foods, that's what keeps us coming back. So what we don't see is what you need to log. You need to be vigilant in adding oils to your food logging and tracking. And again, whatever you think you're having, add 20% to that. We underreport what we eat by about 20%. and we think we're more active than we are. Hello, how many steps have you done today? I haven't done very many, though I have been standing for 8 hours and it's midday in Singapore. So my metric, I'm more focused on standing hours for me. Walking is not so accessible. My job is active. I am on my feet, but I don't get a whole lot of steps in. And that's okay. I sit on a stationary bike and I cycle and I get my aerobic work that way. But I've only done 3,300 steps, just to give you some context. Again, I will do about 3 hours of aerobic work a week in total, somewhere between 2 and 3 hours total. So I will sit on a bike and watch a podcast. That's my preferred way to get my cardio in. That just works for me. You do you, boo. I'm not saying everyone has to cycle, but based on my lifestyle, that does the trick. So everyone thinks they're more active than they are and underestimates how many calories they consume. All those bites of this, snacks of that, someone's birthday in the office and they have a muffin or a small cake, a cupcake here and there, and those 4 drinks on a Friday afternoon that they forgot that they had, that adds up. Okay, so just something to bring to your attention. Hard pill to swallow. You eat more than you think you do, you move less than you think you do. That's just reality. And my favorite hard pill to swallow. You can't influence anything that I've just mentioned until you address what's up here. Okay, until you start thinking like a fit, quote unquote, fit and healthy person, you cannot actually make and sustain change. If you are determined to be the overweight person in the corner who's funny and is just really funny because you want people to notice how funny you are, you don't want people to notice how overweight or, flabby, miserable, I don't know, you are, like, if that's your thing, then that's what you'll always revert back to. How you define you is so critically important in creating change, and more importantly, letting yourself create change. A lot of us don't let ourselves get results. That's just the fact. Okay. For a lot of you, you know what to do, you just haven't done it. You know how many calories you need, you know how many grams of protein you need, you know that you need to sustain a caloric deficit, but life's busy, or you have to travel, or now is not the right timing, quote unquote right timing. I don't know when the right timing is. If it's not now, then when the hell is it? What are you waiting for? What are you actually waiting for? You waiting for an invitation? This is your invitation. Here's your kick up the ass. Your life is not about to get 200 years longer, okay? So shut the fuck up and just start. Just start. You cannot create change without starting. You can't sustain change without changing your headspace. Again, if you are determined to be 5 kilos overweight, 10 kilos overweight, 35% body fat, 40% body fat, unfit, weak, frail, like whatever the case may be, that is always going to become true until you work through that. So it's all well and good to log calories, but if you think that you're a lazy person who's inconsistent, of course you won't sustain any changes. So none of what I just mentioned matters until you take action, get the fuck out of your own way, and let your perspective of yourself evolve to the point where you can sustain the changes that you make. Because at the end of the day, if you have not kept weight off, it's because you don't believe that you can. It's probably not because you use the wrong approach. It's probably not because you use the wrong method. Probably not. Rarely is it ever an education gap. Usually it's more an application gap. People don't know how to apply themselves or continue to apply themselves. They don't know how to keep applying themselves. So it's the skill of application. It's not really knowledge, because in countries such as Singapore, Australia, Canada, the UK, America, we usually have enough information about what we should do. We usually know where we could do better. But that's not what keeps you stuck, and it's not what keeps you 10 kilos overweight. What keeps you there is the fact that you don't know how to keep applying yourself. So it's integrating your life with health and all those skills of integration. It's the integration part. that people get stuck with, or where people kind of slip up, go wrong, are inconsistent. So I'll leave you with that. Anything I just mentioned, everything I just mentioned makes zero difference until you take action. So detach from perfect timing and all that bullshit you keep telling yourself. Now is the right time because you're alive. So make the most of that. Until you get out of your own way because you are keeping you stuck, let's face it. And 3, until you let yourself see yourself in a different light. Detach from how you currently see you. Let that person change. Let that person become an even better version of you. And until you do those 3 things, nothing else matters. So that's your 7th hard pill to swallow. Hope you enjoy this recording. Do follow me on Instagram at Team Laura Phillips. Phillips is Phillips. If you're on Instagram watching, make sure you reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. I was going to say Spotify. I am on Spotify. I do have a podcast. So it's Laura Phillips, normal spelling. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will get back to you ASAP, or reach out to me directly on Instagram. Just drop into my DMs. I always want to talk about what you want to hear about. So let me know what you want me to talk about next. I want my content to be relevant and helpful to you. So hope you are having a good one. Thank you for watching. This will be a podcast in the future. So keep your eyes and ears peeled out there. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for watching.